My family traveled to Switzerland. Just the close ones, as indicated by my mother's post. I wasn't included, but my travel wallet was. My bank statement revealed 6 tickets, accommodations at 4-star hotels, and ski rentals. Then my brother inadvertently sent me a text. He is too oblivious to realize. I responded. He just did. I reversed every transaction and flagged their IDs on the booking platform. At 6:03 a.m., my phone buzzed 22 times. When my mother shared that photo with the caption, I initially thought it was a throwback from a trip I had missed years ago, but something about the lighting and the clothing appeared recent. I zoomed in. James was wearing the hoodie I gifted him last Christmas. The snow appeared fresh. My father was clad in his garish red parka. It dawned on me. This was not a throwback. I scrolled through the comments. A family friend inquired if the Alps were as stunning as they seemed. Another cousin commented, "Wow. Switzerland. Living the dream." Then I noticed my aunt's comment. "Surprised Selena isn't with you all." No one responded. The last time I saw them was 3 weeks ago. I had proposed a family trip to Oregon. Something modest. A weekend in a cabin. Hot springs. Perhaps some hiking. My parents appeared uneasy. Mom mentioned that finances were tight. James muttered something about exams. I covered lunch that day. I have been paying for everything lately. A few days later, my father called, requesting if I could keep the emergency credit card active, just in case. I agreed. I trusted them. It's not as if they had ever engaged in anything that dubious. But now I was gazing at a picture of them in Zermatt with 2 unfamiliar individuals. Then I recognized those were my parents' friends, Steve and Donna, the type who sneak alcohol into weddings and argue over karaoke at family gatherings. Not family. Neither is James's girlfriend, who appeared in the background of another photo, making a face on a ski lift. I opened my banking app, uncertain of what I was anticipating. 6 airline tickets, San Francisco to Zurich. Charges exceeding $8,700, all within 2 days. Accommodations at 4-star hotels in. Train journeys, ski equipment rentals, fondue bookings, and even a hot air balloon excursion, all charged to my emergency card. That card had a limit of $9,000. They reached the maximum. I simply sat there, not yet angry, just in disbelief until I received a message from James. He intended to text someone else, LOL. I stared at it for nearly a full minute. Then I responded. He had just done it, and I got to work. I spent the next 2 hours on the phone. I reversed every transaction I could and flagged their IDs on the booking platform. They were utilizing my travel wallet account. I had all the passport numbers. Photos and ticket receipts were right there. I even sent a fraud notice to the ski resort along with a copy of my ID. Cancellations began pouring in. I contacted the bank and informed them that the card had been stolen by someone I knew. I was not lying. By the time I was done, I had partial liability and 5 frozen accounts. Their hotel bookings? Cancelled. Ski passes? Eliminated. Rental van? Revoked. Even their dinner at that mountaintop revolving restaurant? Cancelled. Then at 6:03 a.m., my phone began vibrating 22 times. I did not answer. Not the first 3 calls from Mom, not the 5 from James, not the one from Steve's burner number, nor the calls from Dad. However, when Dad called again at 7:41 a.m., I picked up. Selena, we need $4,200 to return to San Francisco. Can you assist us for now? No silence. I hope you enjoy the remainder of your time there, I replied. You will have much to explain upon your return. Trouble is already waiting. Then I hung up. Let them experience it. They would be back in 2 days. James has his own funds. He can pay for once. I was not finished. Not even close. They landed in San Francisco early Thursday morning. I did not require flight tracking. I received the update from Mrs. Langley, who resides across the street from my parents. She observes from her window like a human ring camera. Her message arrived at 6:12 a.m. They are back. Suitcases appear damaged. Your dad is limping. No one smiled. Thought you should be informed. I was already dressed. I arrived at 6:41. Donna was shouting into her phone, standing barefoot on the driveway. Steve appeared as if he had been struck while suffering from a hangover. James was hauling a damaged Samsonite up the steps while his girlfriend sat atop it. Too exhausted or too privileged to lift a finger. My parents lingered by the door as if awaiting a verdict. I chose not to greet them. I parked across the street, approached, and got straight to the matter at hand. You owe me $4,000. Non-refundable fees. You have 3 days. Mom blinked as if she did not comprehend English. Dad attempted to speak but fell silent when I retrieved my phone and opened a folder labeled fraud documents. Screenshots of every transaction, including dates, times, their names, their faces on hotel check-in records, passport scans, and even their skiing itinerary, all extracted from my travel wallet. They truly utilized everything. My saved documents, my stored passwords, my emergency credit line. They invaded my entire digital existence and booked a lavish European vacation, then had the audacity to post about it as if they had won a contest. James stepped forward. This is absurd. You are exaggerating the situation. I turned to face him. You excluded me, deceived me, took my money, and then insulted me in a text intended for someone else. He scoffed. It was supposed to be a trip for those who genuinely know how to unwind. You wouldn't have blended in. Yes, I gathered that from the Instagram caption. Just us. The close ones. His girlfriend mumbled something quietly. I did not hear it. I did not care. I redirected my attention to my parents. You borrowed trust and transformed it into theft. I froze all accounts, reversed what I could, but I am still out $4,000. You will return it to me, or I will take legal action. That captured their attention. Mom began to utter something gentle, resembling an apology that never truly resonates. But I interrupted her. You used Steve and Donna's names for the bookings. That is impersonation. You had no right to do any of this. 3 days. Do not call. Do not send a text message. Make the payment. Then I departed. By the end of the day, they managed to gather the funds. Uncle Mark came through, although I later learned he lectured James for an hour, concluding with, "You are fortunate I do not send you to rehab simply for being this foolish." They transferred the money to me that evening. No subject line, no message. Very well. I marked the file as repaid, archived the folder, and went to sleep. Slept soundly. The following morning, James was outside my building. No text, no warning. Just standing there in a hoodie as if he anticipated some sitcom-style resolution. You ruined the trip for everyone, he stated. I leaned against the railing. You did not invite me. You could have managed it differently, discreetly. You all excluded me, lied about the reasons, used me, mocked me, and then expected I would not notice. And now you seek what, sympathy? He gazed at me as if he was seeing me for the first time. You behave as though you are superior to everyone. I did not respond because I am indeed superior to those who engage in such behavior. He departed. No apology, no sense of shame. Just a resentful expression. He likely rehearsed in front of the mirror, but he had a larger issue ahead. I had been covering his tuition for the past year and a half. Next semester, he would be on his own. I did not deliver a speech, nor did I convene a family meeting. I simply logged into the university portal, accessed the finance section, and removed my card from James's tuition plan. I disabled autopay. Closed the tab. He probably assumed I had forgotten. The deadline passed without incident. A week later, the system flagged his outstanding balance. 6042, a hold was placed on his account. No registration, no access to the student portal. Just a courteous email. Your enrollment has been suspended due to non-payment. That was when the silence was broken. James texted first, casually. Hey, something glitched with the payment. I believe tuition did not go through. Could you check it? I left it on read. Next came the call. Ignored. Then the voicemail. Half concern, half command. Could you please take care of this today? I have labs commencing shortly. There was not a single mention of his actions. He simply presumed the engine would continue to operate. Subsequently, my mother attempted to leave 3 voicemails. The final one lasted nearly 5 minutes. It began in a calm manner, perhaps too calm, and evolved into a rambling discourse on forgiveness, the fallibility of families, and how I needed to cease allowing money to dictate my identity. That statement resonated with me. Money defines you. As if I hadn't devoted years to covering their rent during Dad's unemployment. As if I hadn't spent 5 figures on James's tuition last year while working weekends to manage expenses. They were indifferent to money when I was their financial provider. A day later, Dad sent me a message. It was brief. Devoid of emotion. I understand. Do what you must. That message struck a different chord, yet it did not alter anything. Then James reached out again. You are seriously not making the payment. I responded. Correct. The subsequent call was aggressive. You are a joke, Selena. You are jeopardizing my future over a vacation. That is how petty you are. No, I am holding you responsible. That is how exhausted I am. You failed to comprehend. I require this semester. I am already behind. I did not request you to reserve ski trips using my card or to post about it while feigning my absence. Goodness, you are resentful. You are a thief. Then there was silence. For a moment, I believed he had disconnected. Then he uttered something I will never forget. You were never family. You were merely a wallet. You simply dislike being empty now. I ended the call. 3 days later, my aunt sent me a text. Not even one with whom I share a close relationship. She stated that I should feel ashamed that James was family and that I should have managed this matter privately. I chose not to reply. Then a cousin reached out, followed by another. Someone even emailed me an article regarding financial boundaries and grace. They were unaware of the full story. Then Sunday arrived. I woke up early and drove to my parents' house. I knocked once. No one answered. I did not anticipate a response. The spare keys remained hanging on the rack inside the garage. I took them and drove off in the silver Civic I had given them the previous year. At that time, I owned 2 cars, and they were always borrowing rides. I thought. At that moment, I was merely restoring order. That Civic belonged to me once more. I maneuvered it into my driveway and paused for a moment. The engine was still running. No one reached out. No one sent a text. I suppose they finally grasped the situation. You cannot spend years treating someone as a safety net and then lament betrayal when they sever the ties. They believed I was bluffing, but this was not a game of poker. It was the time to settle the bill. 3 weeks had passed since the tuition crisis. Not a word from James. No messages, no outbursts. That silence was, in itself, suspicious. My assumption? He was likely scrambling behind the scenes, seeking another handout, perhaps even hoping I would relent if he simply waited long enough. But he did not wait. The call arrived on a Thursday afternoon. An unknown number. I answered. Hello. Is this Selena Palmer? Yes. This is Jenna from Student Accounts at Edge University. We have been attempting to contact you regarding an outstanding tuition balance. You are listed as the financial guarantor on the account for James Palmer. My stomach sank. There must be an error. I never consented to that. She hesitated. We possess a signed document on file bearing your name and signature. I would like to see it. She sent it to me via email. I opened the PDF. There it was. My name, my address, my phone number. And the most troubling part? A forged signature that nearly resembled mine. The box marked next to assume financial responsibility in the event of non-payment struck harder than any insult I had ever received. I felt a chill. James had not only exploited me. He had forged legal documents to achieve it. I immediately called her back and filed a fraud claim. I sent my ID. Real signature samples. Screenshots of conversations with James. She informed me that the issue would be investigated, but until it was resolved, I was deemed responsible. If it was not cleared, the debt would affect my credit. This was more than betrayal. This was a declaration of war. I did not contact James. Not yet. I required someone who would comprehend the gravity of what had just transpired. Thus, that weekend, I drove to my grandfather's residence. He has always stood apart, remaining more detached from the turmoil of the family. No insincere smiles, no manipulative guilt, merely quiet scrutiny and a reliable memory. I brought the forged document with me, took a seat opposite him at his small kitchen table, and presented it without any theatrics. He read it carefully, then raised his gaze to me and posed a single question. Did you report it yet? Yes. He nodded once, got up, went into the back room, and returned with a small lockbox. I had never seen it before. He unlocked it, retrieved a folded deed, and handed it to me. It pertained to the family lake cabin, the one I hadn't visited since I was 13. I'm giving this to you, he stated. No one else is worthy of it. I'll contact my lawyer on Monday. I merely sat there clutching the deed, uncertain of how to respond. He had never bestowed anything like that upon anyone in our family before. Then, he added, I always knew you were the only one who would mature. On the journey home, James finally broke the silence. I noticed his name flash on my screen. I allowed it to ring twice before answering. I need you to stop, I said. I know you informed the school that you forged my signature. I had no alternative, Selena. I thought you would be understanding about it, as you always are. Understanding about fraud. It's $6,000. You could have simply paid it. I could have, but you ensured that I wouldn't want to. There was a moment of silence. Then he changed the subject. I'm going to be expelled. I can't register. They are threatening to send it to collections. Are you really going to leave me in this situation? Yes. You are heartless. No, I have just finally grown weary of being your safety net. He ended the call. This time, there was no dramatic insult, no guilt trip. Just silence. An hour later, my mother called. Her message began gently. I know things are difficult between you and James, but we truly cannot believe you are allowing this to ruin everything. Then it turned bitter. You are behaving as if we are strangers. No, I believed you made me a stranger the moment you booked flights to Switzerland using my card and captioned it, "Just the close ones." Then a cousin reached out to me, one I had not communicated with in a year, and remarked that I was becoming quite a disappointment. Said I used to be generous. Said I was undergoing changes. Perhaps I was. The following day, I visited my parents' house, entered through the side garage door, and took the Civic key from the hook. I did not announce my actions. I simply drove the car home. That vehicle was registered in my name anyway. No one intervened. No one remarked on it. I suppose they all came to the same realization simultaneously. I was finished. And the woman they believed was merely a safety net. She was about to turn into the greatest issue they had ever created. By the end of the month, James was officially out. No classes, no re-registration, no contingency plan. I verified it myself by accessing the university's public directory. His name had disappeared. He had vanished from the system. I suppose he thought someone would come to his rescue at the last moment. Perhaps my parents, perhaps another cousin. But no one did. Not this time. I kept anticipating more drama, more messages, more anger. But everything became eerily silent. Then gradually, something unforeseen began to occur. People started to change their allegiances. Not everyone. My mother remained infuriated. She sent me terse, clipped texts expressing her disappointment, insisting that I should have managed matters internally, as if this were some sort of workplace conflict. But the tone had shifted now. There was less power behind it, less control. However, cousins, aunts, even family friends, individuals I believed were completely invested in the narrative that I had abandoned my family, began to reach out. Initially, just to inquire about what truly transpired. Then they started sharing information with me, details I had never known. One cousin mentioned that my mother had already begun asking her husband if he could co-sign a small loan for James's educational situation. Another indicated that my parents had considered refinancing the house, blaming me for placing them in a difficult position. And then, most surprisingly, one of James's own friends direct messaged me on Instagram. He simply wanted to express that he understood why I severed ties with him. He explained to us the events that transpired. Although he omitted many details, we managed to piece it together. You are not the villain, Selena. To be honest, we are all somewhat impressed. It felt surreal. Then I received a call from my grandfather's attorney. The transfer of the lake cabin was completed, but he included something unexpected. Your grandfather revised his will last week. He has excluded your parents and James from being beneficiaries. He stated that he no longer has faith in them. He designated you as the sole inheritor on his behalf. I never requested any of this. I never wished to be at the center of an estate dispute. However, it seems my grandfather had reached his limit. He had observed everything unfold quietly, as he always did, and formed his own judgments. That same weekend, I chose to drive to the cabin just to see it for myself. It was tranquil, secluded, a bit rough around the edges, yet it felt pristine, like a place where people did not shout, lie, or steal credit cards. I sat on the back porch for over an hour, gazing at the lake. I had not experienced such tranquility in years. Upon my return, my father was waiting outside my apartment. No text, no prior notice. He was simply leaning against the railing by the stairs. I just wanted to have a conversation, he stated. Not to resolve anything, just to be truthful. I allowed him to speak. He confessed that they had overstepped, that they had depended on me excessively, expected too much, and had permitted James to think he was entitled to everything without accountability. He acknowledged that even though he initially disagreed with my approach, he now understood. You are correct to set boundaries, he remarked. Then he extended his hand. I was taken aback by that gesture, but I shook it. There was little else to discuss. Later that evening, I received a message from James. All you had to do was assist as you did before. You ruined everything. I read it once, then again. Then I archived the conversation and moved forward. Because by this point, everyone finally grasped something I had known for a long time. I was not the issue. I was simply the only person willing to cease being involved in it. When spring arrived, I had not heard from James for nearly a month. The silence had lost its intensity. It was anticipated. I had no knowledge of where he was residing, how he was managing, or if he had finally secured a stable job. A part of me was tempted to inquire, purely out of curiosity. However, curiosity was what initially led to my downfall. Then, one afternoon, a message arrived. It was brief and uncertain. It was James. Can we have a conversation? My immediate thought was, why now? But I agreed. We convened at the back of an inexpensive coffee shop close to the community college he used to ridicule. He appeared thinner and older. Like someone who had to mature rapidly under harsh fluorescent lights and inadequate sleep. He did not dress up for the apology. That made it more credible. He began with what I anticipated, acknowledging that he had gone too far, that he had not comprehended what I was enduring until it all came crashing down on him. He mentioned that he had made excuses for years because it was simpler than making changes. But then he expressed something unexpected. I didn't merely mess up your finances. I distorted how you perceived all of us. I believe that is what I regret the most. I allowed that to linger for a moment. I do not harbor hatred towards you, I stated. But I do not trust you either. He nodded, indicating that he did not expect me to. Then he proposed something I completely did not foresee. I wish to reimburse you. I genuinely laughed. Not because it was humorous, but because it seemed implausible. He did not flinch. Little by little, even if it takes years. I did not respond. I simply stood up, nodded, and exited. I did not instruct him to keep in contact. I did not offer assistance in getting started. I did not embrace him or forgive him or create a dramatic scene. I merely left things as they were. Some debts are not about finances, and some peace does not arise from mending things. It comes from leaving them in disarray and choosing to progress regardless. That weekend, I drove to the cabin once more. The air remained chilly, the lake partially frozen, yet I opened all the windows anyway, allowing everything to air out.